Alright, here we are back, and right where we last left off, we had the top frame on the bottom frame, and if you can remember right, a little bit weeble wobbly, and also doesn't really fit, extends past here, doesn't quite line up at all with the corners, and I was going to look into possibly cutting this apart and refitting it, and actually decided against that. And what I did was I built a new one on top of this base frame, so that way I knew it fit. So let's take this, set it aside, and as you can probably tell right here is the new one, much smaller. And I have it upside down. So, new one is all put together, welded up, and after a little bit of fiddling, fits perfectly. No weeble wobbling to it, other than the whole stand weeble wobbling, but that'll be fixed when it's actually fixed together. So it'll all be one unit, and as you can tell by how everything's done, it'll be nice and sturdy. So next step is, what we're going to do is, I have all these welds on here I got to grind down yet, so I'll grind those down, and then I'm going to weld the mounting tabs on the edges. So where we want is right here on this edge, and then right here on this edge we'll mount pretty much the same to how we mounted the bottom. I'll chop up some of the slotted steel and use it to mount. My other option, I still have all these tabs I cut, which, you know what, that'll look much better. So cancel that. No slotted steel. I'm going to drill holes in these tabs that I cut out of the flat stock and weld that on there. Realistically, I probably should do this for the bottom because it'll look a little better. Anyway. And with that, we're going to get to that. So onwards and upwards. Good news is, once we weld these tabs on here and drill the holes where we need to drill the holes, it will be time to mount the top frame to the hood, weld it in, and that'll also mean that it's time to get the hood on this frame, and then from there we can worry about mounting the grill, which should be fun. So let's get to it. Alright. No. Alright, and after much drilling later, we have 4 tabs like this with 2 holes drilled in it. We have this top hole is going to be used for plug welding, so I can put a plug weld in there. The bottom hole is where the drill is going to go through, or the bolt's going to go through. And then we also have 4 with just a single hole in it. Actually, it'll be mounted like this, and that's for the bolt hole. There's no hole for a plug weld because this is the one that's going to be going on this corner, and it's got an open tube there, so nothing to plug weld to, unless I kind of drilled out a corner, which I probably could do, but I don't feel like messing around with that. Just welding around the edges and the top should be enough to hold it in. The plug weld is a bonus if I can get it. So these ones will be just welded on the sides and on the top. And also we'll maybe try to attack or put a little bit of a weld where it meets the metal from the backside. I'll see once I start mounting them if I can do that or not. And with those 8 pieces, 4 of each type on, so that's 1 for each corner of the 2 types. Should be able to mount all this. So now what I need to do is weld these on, and then we can actually worry about drilling the holes through these uprights, which I'm probably, for the sake of convenience, going to wait till after I weld these tabs on, and then just literally with a drill go through. I'm not going to worry about using the drill press, because unbolting the bottom, pulling it out, drilling on drill press, not worth it. It'll be easier and actually probably more accurate to just use a hand drill. So I'm going to use a hand drill for that and have a good time. So on to the next step. And 3, 2, 1. All right, and frame is on there with tabs welded in place. Didn't feel like showing the welding footage. I've done a good bit of welding, so this I did off camera just because a bit fiddly. Just making sure it's aligned right, and as you will be able to see, this is not bolted on. It's barely wiggling. So once I get bolts put through there, it'll be good and sorted. I'm not sure if there's enough light for this, but we'll get a close-up on the welds. Alright, this front side. Oh, I didn't weld that. Probably don't need it. Not quite sure how I missed welding an entire side, but I did. Alright, and with that bit of welding done, I gotta drill holes in it, put bolts through, and make sure it lines up, bolted, make sure it still fits good, and then it's welding, time to weld that into the hood. I'm gonna have to cut new holes in the rib in the center, because this is shorter than I originally planned. So I'm gonna have to cut out that rib in the center a little bit for make room for this new design, and we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna get to that. All right, and welcome back to a little more less work clothes. And that's because I'm doing a little planning right now. As you can see, I got my steering wheel up on the desk, which right now the hood is just placed on here. It's not fixed at all. However, pretty solid without me. There's nothing holding it there other than friction. So that's actually a pretty good sign. However, I was thinking, because this is going to be a dual purpose desk, really, I'm going to be using this for modeling and doing all my computer work, playing games, but I also want it as a racing setup with my racing wheel, because I don't have a luxury of space to have a kind of station for racing and a station for at the computer, unfortunately. So I kind of want this to be dual purpose. So I'm doing a little bit of planning. Right now, the way the desk is set up, height-wise, this is my chair. It's set up kind of for maximum comfort, because I really like having my arms supported on the desk itself. I don't like having armrests on my chair. I like to support my arms on the desk. So my keyboard is going to be right about in the center of this desk. My mouse will be here, so that way I can have my arms supported completely, and it's comfortable at this height. It's a perfect height for what I want. Difficulty is if I take the steering wheel and mount this how we normally would mount it, it's quite high. So I could probably live with it where it's at. The only thing is, steering wheel is going to be in my vision for the monitor. The monitor will be sitting right about here where my hand is. So it'll be a little bit in my vision, and it's a little bit uncomfortable to turn. It just doesn't feel quite natural. I could raise my seat up, and that would help with this, but then that'll throw off my feet with pedals, because right now my feet will still operate the pedals pretty easily. If anything, I'd like to go a little bit lower with it. So I probably could live with this, but since I'm building this and designing it, I figure I should make it feel right while I have the chance, and not just not kind of deal with something. I have the opportunity to fabricate and play with it right now and not lose the time having a desk, because if I finish it and then go, you know, I don't quite like this, I'm going to alter it, then I have to put all my stuff on a different desk so I can work on this. So now is the right time to work on it. And I have an idea. It's a little bit out there of an idea, because if I do it, it's going to be hard to go backwards if I don't like it. So I'm going to think about this quite a lot, but I'll go over it with you. So the thought being, if I take the steering wheel and I put it about in line with the desk, that is a comfortable height for the steering wheel for me. It feels comfortable. It puts my feet in the right kind of placement, and I can enjoy that. I actually am thinking about building a little bar across the bottom or something to elevate my pedals a little bit and kind of angle them towards me so it's a little more natural, or feels a little more natural. And the problem with this, of course, is if I build something out to support this, one, it's going to be in the way if I want to scoot forward and use the desk for a regular desk, and two, it puts me way back here where my monitors will be about a little bit past the halfway point on that hood. So it's going to put me far away from my monitors, and it's going to be a little bit cumbersome for when I want to just use the desk. So the kind of crazy idea I'm thinking about is, we put this back where I had it, is I mark out on the hood around here and just cut that piece out of the hood. And what that'll let me do is it'll drop this whole steering wheel a little bit, and I can connect it to the frame that's underneath. And that'll give me a few inches of this dropping to about, maybe about here. It's not going to be a whole lot lower, but it'll be enough to make a difference in my eyes. And along with that, if I set this down, with what I talked about with my keyboard's going to be way up here. So my arms will be around that hole, and I'll mark it out with marker just to make sure, but it'll be around that, and I'll still have full functioning. So I think that might work, and I'm going to try it. We'll see how it goes. I got to think about it, make sure I'm 100% okay with that, but that's just kind of the idea I'm thinking about, of making this kind of that dual purpose. And what I'm also thinking along with that to help Nope, and that is the GoPro full. So, that'll be good enough. And the camera seems to do a better job than me at knowing when I should end an episode, and we appear to be at a good place to stop. In the next episode, we will be starting to cut out the hole I talk about as this camera footage ran out. Luckily, as you'll find out, things work out better than originally planned, so I will see you in that next episode. Bye-bye.